There's a lot of good news coming out for Ukraine. My name is Mark Bernot, and I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about this good news. There's EU sanctions, the 17th round of sanctions on Russia. Right now, they're going to be targeting the 200 ships plus in the Shadow Fleet. They're going to be doing financial sanctions against countries and individuals, even third-party countries like China that are trying to get around sanctions. This is a very significant symbolic move because the Europeans are showing that they have teeth. They're unified. They are going to continue this and keep up the pressure on Russia. And again, I use the analogy, Russian economy is like a car almost out of gas. It doesn't seem like anything's going on until it just stops and then it collapses. And then you're on the side of the road and you have no money and you're out of gas and you're walking somewhere and you're trying to push the car. That's the Russian economy. And the Europeans know it. The European economy, on the other hand, is this massive economy with potential to be much larger, depending on how you define it, than the United States, certainly in the number of people. And when they continue to open markets and when the UK is rejoining, these are not just EU sanctions, but these are UK sanctions also going against Russia, rejoining this alliance. Romania has elected a very intelligent mathematician as their new leader. And Poland, I don't want to put the whammy on it. It looks like it will be reinforcing this pro-European freedom, democracy, transparency, and support for Ukraine. So there's a lot of good things coming from Ukraine, even though every day on the news we tend to fixate maybe on the negative narrative. Behind the scenes, Europe is unifying and supporting Ukraine. Norway is dedicating a lot of shipment of defensive weapons, I just heard, to Ukraine. This is the way to go. Now, in contrast, again, everybody's talking about this Trump call with Putin was totally meaningless. You know, he's got this grandiose ideas. I knew this guy at the gym. I pumped iron with him. And then I saw him on the mall one day, and I guess he was off his meds or something, or he's coming off of the juice. And he had these grandiose visions and ideas, and he was talking gobbledygook, okay? So that's what it reminds me of. When people have grandiose ideas, they make statements like, oh, we're going to link Russia to the United States economically and create millions and millions of jobs, just like he said with, for example, Saudi Arabia. I mean, but this violates, a lot of people say, well, give me the statistics that you can prove in the data. You know, there's no data on this. You got to go to theory. Adam Smith said you need rule of law. Russia does not have a rule of law. So if we're linking the United States as an investment flow of streams to Russia, it violates Adam Smith's rule of law, transparency, and justice first premise for free markets. Second of all, Russia has monopolistic and mercantilism as their modus operandi. That goes contrary to Adam Smith. That is not somebody you want to link with. Well, I mean, sure, why not link with Venezuela? Or why not link with, Somalia? You can make a claim and that's, we link the United States with Somalia, create millions and millions of jobs. It will be just wonderful for everybody. But this is not the way business works. This is not the way economics works. Milton Friedman reminded us, as well as the Austrians, Hayek, Mises, etc., or any economist worth their salt, governments do not create jobs. Firms and individuals do through entrepreneurial activity. Even on a small scale, it would be better. I mean, Ukraine has even the Carpathians, they have a small is beautiful herbal tea industry. They have like goat cheese industry. The Norwegians have a shipbuilding, custom-made wood shipbuilding industry, but they also have, fisheries. Finland has these textiles. Poland has all kind of, cottage industries going on. Iceland has, maybe an example would be this dairy, this yogurt that they create that's on the shelves of everywhere. A lot of good things happen with small-scale micro-cap. Economics is not like just one dictator signing with one autocrat some deal and you plug them together. You have to ask yourself, would you personally invest in Russia? I would not. It's very unstable currency, no rule of law. They could confiscate the assets. And, during this geopolitical war, there's no way that any U.S. company worth their salt would take that geopolitical risk. So that's just grandiose talk. On the good news in Ukraine, again, like I say, Europe's being coming together, going to support Ukraine to the end with equipment, with technology. And I believe Ukraine's strategy is speak softly and carry a big stick. Usually they're pretty tight-lipped about what they're doing behind the scenes. They may be negotiating because they do want peace and I want peace and we all want peace. But unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to happen because we have a czar ruling Russia with grandiose ideas also. Maybe he's off his meds or whatever. So they're going to be taking action. Oil's falling down. Europeans put a $60 price cap. I mentioned that oil was $48. Again, that referred to the Ural Siberian oil. Okay, the price that they get from that, and that's marginal cost, marginal revenue. Marginal cost is even exceeding marginal revenue. They're not at the shutdown point, but the $60 is even more important as a cap because it will push that even down further, and there'll be a point where they'll be at, not only net loss but below operating viability. And on the front line, Ukraine's not losing a lot of ground. They're holding steady. That's their strategy. Okay. Again, I told you it takes 3-to-1 firepower, which Russia does not have. Russia's running to defend or retreat. Russia does not have that 3-to-1 ratio. They may have a 1.5-to-1 or something, and that's even questionable. Ukraine tends to be very innovative. In a defensive position, when you're an attacker, it could go up to, they need a 6-to-1. So it's not going to happen by the Tsar's 2025 goal. It could happen in 10 years. But Russia's not going to last that long. The Russian economy is, at 21, 25, 27, depending how you slice it, interest rates, but the currency very weak right now. And even though you say, well, it's gone up a little bit by a fraction of a penny or whatever, that's because the dollar's gone down. But in relation to the euro or the Swiss franc or other strong currencies, that currency is still weak and volatile. It's really not a medium of exchange, as we know. It's just a symbolic medium. So Ukraine's going to win this. It's just going to take time, and they have to be patient. And the win for Ukraine is peace, because we all want peace. Okay, it's not like any guy that's pretty going to cheer and laurels, to the victors, because I don't care about that. Nobody in Ukraine cares about that. And nobody in the world cares about that. The win is they're being integrated, regardless of the person in the White House, into Europe, and this is continuing. I do hear that in the States that they're going to be ejecting or thinking about ejecting 200,000 Ukrainians, that probably women and children, under the White House executive order. I'll see if that comes to fruition. So again, it comes down to the United States will not be able to link up to Russia and create billions and billions of dollars and jobs. It's just not the way economics works. It's always an entrepreneurial initiative. And even if it can do something like that, it's a monolithic Soviet idea. We don't want to take the United States in that direction. And the second thing is Europe is on the rise. They're becoming more free market. More barriers to entry are being eroded between the countries. I live in Europe. I know what I'm talking about. If anything, as the United States starts to go down and a lot of this price shock is hitting, by goodness, a package of nails, I'm a do-it-yourselfer, were like $30 a box. Now they're like $60 a box. Okay, you go to the big box stores and you'll see that. Why that's happening in Europe, if anything, there's a reversal of that trend and things are being brighter. And I include Ukraine in that Europe. So there's a lot of good news coming from Ukraine. And Russia, the sanctions alone is symbolic, but it's also have substance. The best news is they still have a tremendous amount of oligarch money that they can use. And you say, well, there's all these technicalities around getting around it, and how do we do it? It's justified under international law, universal justice. And the way you get around it is just put a, unusual tax on it, because tax is almost above the law, and you can do it that way. So there's latitude with that. Can you imagine if they do that? That would just bring down topple the czar. And their economy is down anyway, and that's another video. So good news for Ukraine. The EU sanctions are applied. Doesn't matter what the White House does. I'd like them to be, on our side of freedom, justice, liberty, God. But I'm not sure if they are. My name is Mark Biernat. I'm a monetary economist. Have a beautiful day. Thank you very much.